You did something amazing. You had $1 million year. Now, before we get into like what went into that, because that's not a winning lottery ticket. You don't just scratch off, roll dice with content and land on $1 million. But take me to the day that you checked, whether it was a P&L, whether it was Stripe account Square. Where were you? What did it feel like? You checked. I want to know, where were you, what was going on, and how did you feel?
Yeah, I was at my house and I can't remember if I was looking at my Stripe or if I was looking at on a call with my finance manager, but I do remember looking at it and I'm like, I finally did it. And it's like, for whatever reason, money was just slower that week. So it was like 998, that 100,000. And it was like mad slow. And then I'm finally like, wow, I did it. I did it. And it felt really great. It was like there was one side of me that was really excited because it's like it's my first 7-figure year. So this was 2020. And then there was another side of me that was like, I knew this was coming because I made the decision 6 months ago. This needs to be your $1 million year.
Wow. Hold on. You made the decision. This needs to. Where did the decision come from?
The decision came from just really starting to expand my mindset, started reading more about like growing my business, what it really meant to transition from making money online to becoming a CEO. And so when I had that like epiphany or mindset shift, I was like, I want to run a $10 million company. So 1 million is inevitable.
My goal is to help coaches and entrepreneurs turn their mind into money, teaching them how to take what they know, package it, market it, sell it, and automate it to make a massive income and massive impact, even if they don't have a lot of followers on social media.
If you're watching this video, you're about to make a whole lot of money because we're about to show you how to turn your ideas into online income. What does that mean? All of us have information and knowledge that we've acquired throughout the years or services we provide. I like to help coaches and entrepreneurs figure out, how do you package that into something you can sell in a digital product, a course, or a program? How do you market it so people know that you actually sell it? How do you sell it to generate revenue and automate it to build a successful online company? Well, today, the person I get to interview embodies all of that. Really, she should be doing this show by herself. I should get up and leave right now. She's absolutely one of my favorite entrepreneurs because she's brilliant. She's outgoing. She has personality. She is one of the best that I've seen do it for a consistent period of time. There's a lot of people who have pivoted throughout the years, not because they've been successful, but simply because they are unclear. Well, she helps women of faith get clarity and do everything from idea, literally, to a successful online business. My sister, my friend, Maya Elious. What's up, family?
Hey, what's going on? Thanks for having me.
Man, it's a pleasure to have you. I want to dive right in. The first thing that popped in my head, and I want to know, you did something amazing. You had $1 million year. Now, before we get into like what went into that, because that's not a winning lottery ticket. You don't just scratch off, roll dice with content and land on $1 million. But take me to the day that you checked, whether it was a P&L, whether it was Stripe account Square. Where were you? What did it feel like? You checked. I want to know, where were you? What was going on? And how did you feel?
Yeah, I was at my house and I can't remember if I was looking at my Stripe or if I was looking at on a call with my finance manager, but I do remember looking at it and I'm like, I finally did it. And it's like, for whatever reason, money was just slower that week. So it was like 998, that 100,000. And it was like mad slow. And then I'm finally like, wow, I did it. I did it. And it felt really great. It was like there was one side of me that was really excited because it's like it's my first 7-figure year. So this was 2020. And then there was another side of me that was like, I knew this was coming because I made the decision 6 months ago. This needs to be your $1 million year.
Wow. Hold on. You made the decision. This needs to. Where did the decision come from?
The decision came from just really starting to expand my mindset, started reading more about like growing my business, what it really meant to transition from making money online to becoming a CEO. And so when I had that like epiphany or mindset shift, I was like, I want to run a $10 million company. So 1 million is inevitable.
What's the emotion? You check, you're waiting. Did it feel like a finish line? Did it feel like a win? Like, how'd you feel?
It didn't feel like a finish line. It felt like this is the milestone that I needed to hit to get to where I really want to go.
Yeah.
So it felt good. Like I definitely felt proud. I felt excited. I felt like an expectation of like, yes, like it felt like this is the beginning, really, you know? So it's like, you know, being in the online space for a while, hitting 6 figures is like where most people want to start. And so I did that for a few years, and I'm like, no, 1 million is really the beginning. Like, how do I blow this up? Like, I want to expand. I want to reach more people.
Let me ask you, who the first person you talked? Like, who'd you text? Was it a group text? Was it a phone call, FaceTime? Like, who's that person you shared it with?
I honestly can't remember. Maybe my sister. Probably my sister. She lives here in Atlanta, so I probably called her like, girl, I did 1 million. Like, we rich now.
Here's why I asked that, right? Because what you had to have overcome to get to a place, you said something critical. I made the decision. Mm-hmm. Like, internally, to resolve within yourself, this is what I deserve, this is what I desire, this is what I'm willing to do, this is what I'm not willing to do. Because that's a key part that goes into hitting that mark.
Yeah.
And even having the community to share it with.
Yeah.
Because there is some levels of success remorse, right? Surviving and reaching a certain plateau. And everyone don't have friends that they can talk about their reality. We typically have a community we can talk about our dreams.
Yeah.
So that's amazing that you had your sister that you can reach out and talk to about. But here's my question. So many people never, ever reach that mark. What do you feel you did differently?
I think just honestly never quitting. You know, like you said, I've been in the industry for so long now. Like when I first started making money professionally was 2008 as a freelancer. I was a freelance designer, and it's just making the decision to not quit and simultaneously making a clear decision that I always want to expand. Because there's a lot of people who don't quit, but they keep doing the same thing year after year after year, and there's really not a lot of growth and expansion. Yeah. So I think really the difference is like, one, increasing my rates. Like if we're talking about like practical things that I did, increasing my rates, getting in front of more people, selling consistently. I remember I was having a conversation with my friend Mariah, and she's somebody that like we kind of grew up in the internet space together from blogging days in 2014. And I remember asking her like, well, what's the difference between 6 figures and 7 figures? And she was like, selling every day. And so when I shifted my mindset to like, you can't be trying to sell every once in a while and doing these launches every once in a while. Like you got to be so excited about your stuff that you want to tell people about it every day. And I definitely think that made a huge difference.
Most people struggle with that, right? Because I feel like our personality trait. So I'm outgoing. I'm kind of introvert. I'm ambivert. Introvert, extrovert. There's a faith side of me that want to serve everybody. There's a business side of me that realizes the best way to serve everyone is to not need anything from them so I can actually serve, right?
Yeah.
So did you have any hangups as it relates to selling every day? Because I know most people do.
I don't think that I did. I think if there were hangups, I think it was mainly how do I just find an interesting way to talk about what I'm doing so I don't sound like redundant. But I was really just like, okay, what is the best way to sell every day? Is it sending emails every day? Does it mean going live every day? Does it mean social media every day? Yeah. Then you realize selling every day doesn't mean like you're manually selling, like you're not always on the phone, you're not always sending out emails, but there's always some type of communication that's going out where at least one person is hearing about your offer. So that's like, you know, the importance of consistent content. Like, can you have enough content that you can post on YouTube maybe 3 times a week, and then the other days it's on social media 4 times a week, and somebody is seeing your stuff?
Absolutely. You mentioned blogging, graphic design. Let's go back, right? Once again, how many years you say you've been in this internet space?
15 years now.
Wow.
I know, isn't that crazy? It's insane. I have way too much information on the internet. Because you don't know back then that the internet's going to really like last forever and what it's going to do. But
absolutely. Yeah. The reason why I say it is like we started by talking about this mountaintop in most people's mind. $1 million year, and then you followed it up with another one.
Yes, and another one.
Right, another $1 million year. So
Yeah.
you're talking about back-to-back championships, like, you know. So we started there, but what some people will hear is that. But then you said 15 years. So it wasn't just that year. It was all the experience. Take me back to that initial journey. How did you get started?
Oh my gosh. So I got started by creating custom MySpace pages for people. So this was really back before social media was really a big thing, before you really promoted yourself on like an Instagram or a Twitter. MySpace and Facebook were like the two most popular social media platforms, maybe Black Planet a little bit at the time, which is just like, oh my gosh, how old is this lady? 4,000 years old? Like, she's ancient. So I started on those platforms, and, you know, MySpace was really a place for a lot of people who wanted to build their music brand, their modeling brand. It was for a lot of like entertainers. And so I didn't even realize I was helping people build their brand. I didn't even know what the word brand was or what branding was. I just knew I loved creating things on the internet. I loved making people look good on the internet. And it's like, that's essentially what branding is, right?
Yeah.
Creating this persona and creating a perception of what you want people to think of you or how you want people to view you. And so I got into that space, and then eventually evolved into doing web and graphic design and really understanding branding.
How hard of a transition was that for you? The reason I say that is, as a creative, as an entrepreneur, whether we're doing art, whether we're speaking, whether we're creating programs, we are infusing a piece of our personality, who we are, into all that we do. I know you, so I know we're not the people to get involved in something we don't care about, right?
Yeah.
I'm the same. I'm either all in or not at all.
Yeah.
So to put yourself into something and then pivot from that thing to the next thing, how hard of a transition was it, or was it just a natural evolution?
It was really a natural evolution. I felt like with every pivot or transition, I was stepping more into who I was and more into who I was called to be. And so anytime I would pivot, I would think about, does this pivot allow me to make more impact, right? So when I'm doing the MySpace pages, when MySpace is hot, that's when I'm making the most impact. When it's fading out, me trying to continue building an agency, building MySpace pages, like, girl, we're in 2013 now. Like, nobody, yeah, exactly. Like, sis, I need a website. Like, now we're talking about domain names and .com. So me pivoting into web design made sense because that was the era that we were in. So as I pivoted and evolved, it was just something that made sense. I wanted to make sure I could use my skills to create the most impact. So I would say definitely a natural evolution. But what's really funny is, when I was pivoting to web design, I told people I was a web designer before I was really a web designer. It was like, I've never built a website in my life, but y'all are gonna think I'm a web designer, because if I can code a MySpace page, I'm sure I can build a website.
100%.
So thank God for YouTube, because it helped me build my first website.
You said it was a natural evolution of who I am or who I was becoming. For those who don't know, who is Maya Elious?
Yeah, so from the professional side, I'm a business coach, and what I do, what I love to do, is teach women of faith how to take their expertise, master their message, package their expertise, and build a successful coaching or consulting business. So as a woman of faith myself, growing up in a Christian household, you know, I often sometimes saw people like just lacking with their finances, and I'm like, how can you say you want to serve more and you want to help build the kingdom of God, but you don't have the money to do so? And so there will always be a lot of guilt around making money and being a good Christian.
Yeah.
I'm like, we got to be able to do both. So I really loved seeing people that had this God-given gift, and I wanted them to know that you don't have to hoard this gift, or you don't have to pimp out your gift and give it away for free and think that that's the best way to go about it. You can actually live in your purpose full time if you learn how to monetize it, so you don't have to decide between a 9-to-5 you hate and then after work you get to do what God called you to do.
Yeah. I 100% love it, because it's like we have a similar perspective. The way that I word it is, what I consider kingdom is partnering with God to eliminate something off someone's prayer list, right? So I think for all of us, God gives us a gift to hire us to work for him, to say, make it the way they don't have to pray about that. For you and I, we're helping people generate money.
Yeah.
So now I believe God's top list is, they all asking about money and a boo.
Right.
So if we partner with people to help them discover their purpose and serve other people and not have to pray about money, then it literally partners with God, and that is kingdom. So it is ministry. And that's amazing what you're doing for women. Now I got to go to, you said it so eloquently, right? It was very clear. The average person does not know how to communicate who they are and what they do. How'd you get so good at that?
I think I got good at it because I just understand things in a very simple way. So when after I graduated college, I was actually supposed to go to Penn State University, but I ended up moving to Charlotte, North Carolina, and I went to a community college. And at first I had so much shame around going to a community college because I knew my parents had these like high expectations for me. You know, I'm first generation American. So, you know, I have
What's your?
I'm Liberian.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So, you know, my parents come to this country. They're like, yeah, we're going to live the American dream. Our kids are going to go to like top universities, all of that. But I'm at a community college and I didn't recognize then that it was an easier way for me to learn, because when I went to a bigger university, I got so lost in the sauce of like these big classes. I didn't really understand a lot of what was going on. And then when I started working, you know, doing web design, working with a lot of experts, a lot of these people didn't know how to communicate what they were doing in a way that when you have your website, you're still not making money from it because your website isn't saying what it needs to say.
100%.
So these people pick my brain like, what should I say on my website? Can you help me with this? And so they would say things to me in all of this expert jargon and all of these big words. And I'm like, I don't understand what you're saying. So I would have to force them to simplify what their expertise was so I could understand it, so I could help them with the copy. And that's really how I started getting good in messaging, because I'm like, we got to take all these big words and put it through a filter that your audience is going to understand.
Is this part of what you help your clients with?
And I love it. It's so fun.
We've got to pause right there because I'm in the giving mood. I decided to offer you a free gift, absolutely free. Now, I tell you all the time about turning your ideas into online income, but how am I going to tell you to do something and not provide the resource for it? There's so many questions that people have online about what should I post? How do I get my engagement up? How do I get people to click the link in my bio, buy from me? What should I sell? Whether it's an ebook, an online course, how much should I charge? How do I launch? How do I do a webinar? You see what I'm saying? So I decided to create a free training and give it to you that you can utilize to learn how to literally take the services that you do or the ideas you have and build a successful online company. Go to www.monetizewithmarcus.com. My gift to you. You're welcome. So they're just talking and talking and talking.
All of the talking. They'll be talking for like 7 minutes straight, and I'll say back to them in like 30 seconds. So they're like, how did you just do that right now? Yeah.
The reason I laugh is one of my programs, Course Funnel Accelerator Mastermind, last night was our messaging night. And each person gets a chance to go, and it was, I help people intuitively integrate.
Oh my God. Yes. Over-explaining.
Intuitively integrate their impact through a microcosm of you.
Right,
like,
right.
Bro, if you're talking to somebody's mama. You at the bar grabbing some wings, watching the game, or you, hey bro, what you do? I help people intuitively.
Yeah, you're not gonna say all that, and if you do, you're gonna lose them. Yeah.
So that's a high level skill, right? Because when you talk about when someone gets paid to be an interpreter for different people who speak languages from other countries, in essence, you're helping someone interpret their vision, something that no one can see. You're taking their raw thoughts, their ideas, their passion, the beginning point of their journey, and where they see themselves going.
Yeah.
And you're packaging that into a very clear message. That's a crazy skill.
It's so fun. I love it. I think it's cool too because it's like you really get to work with people who are so smart, and you're like, I just want to help you communicate this so the rest of the world knows how brilliant you are.
Would you say that most people struggle with that? Like that's a major struggle for most business owners when it comes to messaging?
Yeah. Most people struggle with it for two reasons. One, because they're used to communicating about what they do to their peers, right? So if they're at their corporate job or whatever, they're working with other people who do what they do, they're going to speak in their language.
Yeah.
The other reason it's hard for people to communicate what they do is because most people don't know how to talk about themselves or like to talk about themselves. They feel like it's bragging. And I'm like, we have to brag on you. Like, this is what your marketing is going to be about. Like, there's an eloquent way to brag on yourself in a way that it attracts the right people. So, just getting people out of their shell, like, let's talk about the amazing things you do, and let's talk about it in a way that your client understands why they need to work with you.
Okay, let's brag on Maya. Let's do something. Well, a couple of things. You said you was at that big college, and you wanted to go to junior college. So I am curious of what you was doing at that big college. Was you out there twerking or something?
I was a party animal. When I say God's grace was on my life, ciao.
Oh, Lord. What year was this?
This was 2002.
Ooh, Cash Money had just took over
no, it
for the
2012. I meant 2012.
Oh my God! So I know that thing was Cash Money was ringing out everywhere you went.
What was Waka Flocka was really big back then, and was it Travis Porter? Oh yeah, that was the era.
Okay, yeah, that's when people used to actually dance.
Yes.
Yeah, people used to actually dance.
We were actually dancing.
Yeah, everybody's walking out a little musty.
I'm done.
Okay, so that's what was one of your nicknames back then?
I didn't have no nicknames, just Maya.
No nicknames?
No nicknames.
Okay, so just Maya.
Yes.
Now you are Maya Elious, CEO, two back-to-back $1 million years, multi-million-dollar company. So most people struggle with messaging. That's the part where you were developing that skill. So CEO Maya Elious, Maya, twerking Maya back then,
Yes.
comes to CEO Maya Elious and says, I want to do this business, same business you were doing then. How would you coach that person?
Oh my
Right?
gosh.
So walk me through that process. This is CEO Maya talking to twerking Maya.
It is hard to say. It's almost too close to home because I'm like, girl, you don't need business help. You need Jesus, okay?
So we started with mindset then.
Yes, yeah. Especially because back then I felt like I was in a male-dominated industry because I was such a creative back then. I was also shooting nightlife photography. I was creating the graphics for all of the clubs and parties.
Yeah.
So that's why I was also such a party animal, because the industry that I was in.
Yeah.
So I think I would say, like, be mindful of the industry that you're in. Think about the type of people you want to work with. Think about the type of respect that you want as an entrepreneur. So that's definitely the first thing. I think sometimes, like, we choose our audience based on who we think has money or who we think is only able to pay us.
Yeah.
And it's like, who do you want to work with and who can you best serve? So that would be the first piece of advice that I would give to young twerking. I'm still twerking Maya, but 20-something twerking Maya. That's the advice that I would give her.
Wow. And then, so twerking Maya says, okay, that sounds good. I'm doing this MySpace thing, is the way she words it. I really want to charge more. What are some, but I don't know if anybody has the money. I'm in college. How do I get around this audience?
Yeah.
What do we say to help her?
So we tell Maya to think about how this MySpace thing is going to help her ideal client. Because oftentimes we just think we're selling, social media management, or we think we're selling videography. We think we're selling websites or the MySpace thing. And it's like, it's not about the actual thing itself. It's about how does this thing help your person, because that's what they're paying for. They're paying for the result. They're paying for the transformation. So you got to think about, okay, how does MySpace help your ideal client get to the next level? And it's your responsibility to understand what that next level is or looks like for them, because in messaging, that's what you have to communicate.
Yeah.
So 20-something Maya wants to say, hey, I'm going to help you build your MySpace page so you can get closer to getting a record deal, or I'm going to help you build your MySpace page so you can get more modeling gigs, or whatever it is. Then it's different. Now it's not, oh, I'm going to help you create a pretty MySpace page and I can do the back end coding. It's, I'm going to help you land more modeling gigs through your MySpace platform.
More results driven.
Yep.
Oh yeah. So you're coaching. You're coaching now. So twerking Maya has now changed her name to 20-something Maya. She's like, I don't go by that no more. Things I used to do, I don't do no more.
Right.
Places I used to go.
Yeah.
So she says, oh my God, I'm so excited, coach. She calls you and says, I had my first 5-figure day. What do I do next? How do I make this into a company? I want to be a CEO like you.
That's a good question. So once my clients start making pretty decent money, if you could do 5 figures in a month, 5 figures in a day, then the next thing isn't, in my mind, isn't even necessarily how do you make more money. It's, can you make the same amount of money without spending less time? And so, because most times when people are starting to make more money, they're approaching the place of burnout because they're hustling for that money. They're like, oh, but I worked with, 17 clients last week just to hit this revenue goal. And I'm like, okay, how do we scale back? Can you make that same amount of money with 7 clients? Because then you can actually start to experience some of the freedom, which is essentially what we're chasing with entrepreneurship. It's not just the money, it's the freedom that should be coming along with making the money. Then once we can scale her time, then I start thinking about, now how do we make more money, and how do we make it so that you're not the only person bringing money into your company? So do you hire another designer? Do you need an admin? How do we best leverage your time?
The reason why I'm asking this, because I know there are some Mayas out there. And you literally just took us from where you were then, and now I understand those 15 years.
Yeah.
Right? We were talking about from the day that you realized, man, we hit $1 million, to 15 years ago getting started. And the brilliance of you being able to capture your journey, and you've built a business around helping other Mayas out there navigate that journey from, I don't know where to get started.
Yeah.
I don't know how brilliant I am, all the way up to twerking Maya, to 20-something-year-old Maya, to 5-figure day, to 6 figures, 7 figures. Do you see yourself in your clients?
I do see myself in a lot of my clients, which is, it's fun and exciting because I'm like, the things that you think are so hard right now, or the things that you think nobody else is going through, I've already been there. So that's why I'm excited to coach you through it, because I know the fears you have. I know the doubts you have. I know, the hesitation you have around increasing your rates and putting yourself out there. So I'm able to definitely see different pieces of my journey inside of my clients.
You do something really amazing. Built to Impact Weekend. Mm-hmm. And I'm jealous because it's a whole lot of women. I'm like, why the men can't pull up?
Why can't the men come? They always ask.
It looks fun. It's exciting. I see everything from tears to dancing to education to writing. I understand your journey now and what you're doing. What made you put together a weekend to educate and help women in that way? And is that a part of helping them navigate that journey? Tell me more about, anybody who doesn't know, what is Built to Impact Weekend?
Yeah.
Why did it get started? Like, what's the idea behind it?
Yeah. So Impact Weekend is my 3-day live event where, primarily women of faith, female entrepreneurs come. They want to learn how to master their message and build their brand online so they can make 6 figures. And it's 3 days of me teaching everything from mindset to messaging to marketing. And so if you can come in there with a skill set, you will leave out with an offer and a strategy to build your business to 6 figures.
So it's not just some conference.
It's not just some conference. It's life-changing.
Wow.
It really is life-changing. So
because you said coming in and leaving out with tangibles. So this is live implementation, workshop, hands-on.
Yeah, it's very, very hands-on. We have our coaches there, ready to support. We break out into like small groups and huddles so you can work with, some of the women you meet there, workshop your messaging, workshop your funnel ideas, how you're going to build your list, how do you want to price your offer. So I really teach almost everything I know in business. As much of it as I can squeeze into 3 days is what goes on in that weekend.
I can only imagine what you feel like afterwards.
I know. It's like, it's a high and it's exhaustion at the same time. It feels so good. My favorite part is when the weekend is done and I can go on social media and then look at the event through everybody else's eyes.
Yeah.
Because I'm in my zone, when I'm on stage, I'm just pouring out and serving, which is where I want to be. But after, to see the transformation and to see women leave out with so much confidence, because a lot of these women, they don't have this level of confidence when they're at home because they don't have the community.
Yeah.
They don't have people pouring into them. Usually at home, you have people second guess, why do you want to make that much money? You really think people are going to pay you for this? Are you really sure you can start your own business? All of this doubt and projection just being, thrown onto you. And so it's a great feeling to see that.
Where'd the idea come from?
So the idea came from when I created Built to Impact. I think it was 2017, and it was an agency at first because I was already designing, I was writing copy, I was building funnels for people back then. And that's what helped me get to my first 6-figure year. But I recognized that when we did things for clients, they felt like they didn't really need to be a part of the process. And it's like, this is still your business, right? And so I'm like, I really need people to understand their messaging. I need them to understand the funnel and the marketing strategy that we put in place for them. So I'm like, I want to teach more people. And so at the time I was also doing VIP days. Those were happening very frequently. And so I'm like, well, what if I could, instead of doing this for them, I could teach this to them and almost make it a VIP weekend. And I remember at the time just writing like 2-day live event. And I didn't know what Impact Weekend was going to be at the time, but I wrote it down and then I just started planning it. It came together, I think 6 to 8 months later is when I did my first Impact Weekend. And it was 12 women in an Airbnb for 2 days. And I was teaching them their messaging and their marketing. And so I did that about 4 or 5 times before, I scaled it into doing it in the, as a conference.
Yeah.
So.
From 12 women to how many women this year?
About 200.
Sheesh. Were you discouraged with the 12 women or excited?
I was excited.
Wow.
Yeah. Do not despise humble beginnings.
100%.
Yeah.
And how many days is it now? I know you say you started with 2 days. How many days is it now?
It's 3.
3 days.
3 full days, yeah.
Good. And you did it here in Atlanta, correct?
Yeah.
Right up the street and no invite. I tell you.
You know what? right? You supposed to see it on Instagram and pop in. all my guy friends just come in and they just sit in the back. It'd be a Boo and Marty in the back, just like, all right, we just rooting for Maya in the back.
No, the thing that excites me the most about you is number one, I got to highlight something for anyone who's watching. She is highly trained. Do you hear how concise the answers are? I got to just, no, like, so you can interview people there, and it's elaboration. They get lost in the sauce. You are able to pack so much into a small setting and say exactly what is needed and kind of like, what's next? I like it.
Right.
I like it. This is how I know you're a phenomenal coach.
Thank you.
Right? Simplicity is power. Clarity is power. I can tell that you're clear.
Yeah.
What goes into that? Like, what's a typical day as a multi-seven-figure CEO? What does that look like? Are you a regular person? Like, somebody's going to ask, like, no, that's different for her. You don't understand. I got to do my hair. I got to do my makeup. I got kids. Like, what is a typical day for you?
Yeah. It's interesting because I don't think every day is typical. You know, like Mondays and Wednesdays look completely different. But I would say if I were to try to sum it up into what a typical day is, wake up. If I'm training that day, I'll go meet with my trainer, get my butt kicked. You know, I always like having somebody in my life that's going to stretch me and pour into me. So driving to my trainer, I'll listen to an audiobook on the way, work out, come home, take a shower. I have a personal assistant, so she might be at my house by the time I get back. She'll just kind of set me up for my day.
Personal assistant, everyone. She real rich.
Okay, but before the personal assistant, I did the stuff for myself. So I had to do it. And it was getting done. Now I like to delegate. Let me tell you, I was delegating before I was making six figures.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is oftentimes people wait to delegate until they're burnt out. I was delegating because I was like, you know what? I would rather watch Netflix than build a landing page. So I hired an assistant to do the administrative things that I didn't want to do.
Yeah.
So now there's just things like my assistant, she's brilliant, she's phenomenal. And so she'll, do things like make my breakfast or meal prep for me and stuff like that. So I get home and then usually I'll work from like 10 to 2. Listen, 2 o'clock every day, your girl's taking a nap. Okay, I'm taking a nap, and I'm not missing a day of it.
So a nap is scheduled.
Oh yeah, and it's like my body is so used to it at this point where and I can't fight sleep. So if I'm sleepy, I'll sleep at the desk.
I have seen that firsthand.
Yes, I'm gonna be knocked out.
We were recently in Mexico, and y'all are the most napping entrepreneurs I've ever seen.
Everybody was napping, huh?
That thing bad. I go out by the pool. And you and Monray was just out there just
knocked.
I got video of y'all just. I'm like, the ocean's watching them. The pool is watching them.
Right. I should have hidden my face. No face, no case. But yeah, so 2 o'clock we getting in that nap. And if by chance I'm not taking a nap, I still need a mental break, right? Because a lot of what we do, it's not a lot of physical labor, but it's a lot of mental labor. So much thinking, talking to the team, talking to your clients, making sure things are running. So I just need to take a mental break. So I might just sit on my couch. I might go, lay in my bed and watch TV for an hour, and then maybe get back to work around like 4. So then do a little bit of work and then get back on my couch or in bed and just chill.
I could learn a lot from you.
Yeah, you need to rest more?
What? So I am a, how do I word this? Come on, just counsel me right now.
Okay.
It's really bad. So I don't know what it is in me. I feel uncomfortable if I'm not doing something. So I'll give you a very good example. Monday is my coaching day. So I coach all day and I'm thinking through things. Well, the issue with that is the Epic Nation is this merging of the online coaching world and the church world, right? Yep. So what you get in spirituality, how do you process that into a skill, ability, et cetera, and the personal development? So I teach on Sunday. So that's prep. So Sunday's not a rest day for me. Monday is a coaching day. Tuesday, we film all day, right? With the episodes. Wednesday, we right back at it with Epic Talks, et cetera. Thursday, the same. I will finish on Sunday and get up from teaching and go to get something to eat with a notepad to start planning for Monday and Tuesday. Like, soon as I'm done. Like,
what?
When you said naps and Netflix, I can't remember the last time. Like,
I know. And I've always done that. People are like, yeah, I worked my butt off this time I got to my $1 million year. I definitely have seasons where I might work, a 14-hour day if I need to, but I don't try to make that a habit. Those are seasonal. Whereas for other people, it might be like, oh, I have a season of rest, but I'm mainly hustling. It's like, I'm a hustle when I need a hustle, but I'm going to prioritize rest. And I don't know, I think a lot of men do that because they are providers, they're protectors, and oftentimes men, they don't like feeling like they're lazy.
Yeah.
And yeah, I have guy friends that are like that their brain is always moving. And you know, one of my closest friends, he's always like, how on earth did you build a 7-figure company? All you do is sleep and watch TV. And I'm like, that's not true. It's not true. But, you know, but for him, he's like, no, I always got to be on the go. He has multiple companies, all these ideas, coaching people. And I'm like, I don't have the mental capacity for it.
Yeah.
So I think it's a mindset shift. I know for him, he's starting to change a little more as he's getting older. He's like, wait, this is weighing on my health to always be working and not take care of myself. So it's like, you got to take care of yourself. You got a family to worry about. You love the Lord, you know the Lord, so we need our Sabbath. So yeah.
I would say, I was even yesterday, I was battling with, so my body sometimes is communicating to me to say we're tired. Mm-hmm. I had headaches all yesterday, and I'm just trying, and I'm trying to sort through it.
Yeah.
I'm learning a lot from you, right? How'd you get to that place of, we all had it, right? Back in the day, you remember that phase that coaches went through where we used to show our calendar filled all up, and we on calls all
Oh yeah,
you know,
booked and busy, right? Booked and busy phase.
That no shade at all, because I love him. Et was grind. You got to get up early, stay up late. Yeah. You know that whole thing. So we all embraced that idea. Mm-hmm. When did you opt out? Like, nah, that's not it. And how'd you create that harmonious balance within yourself to feel comfortable and say, I know that there are times when it's time to clock in, I'm going to be fully present. But what I love that you're doing is you're treating yourself well. You're treating your clients well. Yeah. I'm treating my clients well, but I'm not treating myself well.
Yeah, you need to treat yourself well. But that's also the beauty of community, where people could be like, bro, I need you to chill. Like, hey, we're going to take a trip, or we're going to do this. Like, let's do something non-business related. I definitely think, like, when I first started, I worked a lot, but I don't think that I worked a lot out of the desire to hustle because I needed money. I think a lot of people get caught up in that. Maybe it could be they've experienced actual poverty, so they have this poverty mindset of, I need to hustle because I got to get to the bag. By the grace of God, I've never really had that mindset, because I've had my parents to be able to fall back on if I needed to. But when I've worked hard, it's because I really desire to do something. I really desire to accomplish doing something. So it's hard for me to say, like, when did I tap into, you know, wanting that freedom? It was just like, if I knew I was tired but something needed to be done, my brain thinks in systems. So I think this needs to get done, but it doesn't need to get done by me, which is why I love delegating. Yeah. So I don't feel the pressure of me being the person to do it. And I think oftentimes people feel like they're more valuable if they're the one doing all of the hard work. I'm like, it's just valuable if it's getting done, because my bank is going to look the same if it gets done, right? It doesn't necessarily need to be me.
So the thing that all of us entrepreneurs, well, I don't want to lump us all, most entrepreneurs struggle with is that whole delegation piece of trusting someone to do it in a way that you would do it similar to. So what would you say to that person that's kind of like, I know that someone else needs to do this, but man, it'll take me longer to teach them how to do it.
I know. No, I definitely actually understand that. So I would say first delegate the things that it's like mundane stuff that doesn't require a lot of genius. It just takes up a lot of time or mental capacity. So the first thing I delegated was like setting up a landing page. You know, I create checklists, which are essentially systems, right? A checklist is simply a system of how you want things to be done. So on the landing page, every landing page needs my headshot. Here's a folder of headshots. Every landing page needs my bio. Here's my bio. Every landing page needs my logo. Here's the logo. Once you give them all of the information, it's like they can set up the basic things. And that's just an example. But start delegating things that don't require your special sauce or your special touch or whatever. And keep the things that you feel like only you can do. You can keep that for yourself.
Wow. You should quit working for free. How did social media hire all of us to be their workforce? We're on the app posting videos, going live, creating reels. We do not get paid when we create content on social media. They do. by selling our content to advertisers. But how do you actually build an online business using social media? I want to break it down for you and give you access to it. There's 5 simple steps. I'll tell it to you in a few seconds. Step number 1 is client attraction. I'm going to show you how to actually attract clients that will happily pay you what you're offering. Step number 2, how to capture them. How do you get their emails? How do you get their phone numbers? How do you get them to show up to your event? Be on your Zoom calls. To what I refer to as client dating. It's where you nurture a relationship with people to get them to say yes to whatever you're offering. And I'm even going to show you what type of content to create that gives you brand visibility and brand recognition. I call it social media secrets. You get access wherever you're watching this video. You'll see it in the description and you'll see it beneath this. Let's get back to the episode. I can 100% see, and I'm sure others can, why you're so successful at what you do. It's the balance. It's the alignment. I always say success is not attainment, it's alignment, right? It's aligning with your core values. That works for you, right? The alignment of you and your clients, the level of emphasis of how you're able to help them. Here's what I would ask. What is that one thing that you say, man, and it's a 2-part question.
Okay.
The thing that you can look back and say, man, I got that wrong. And the thing that you can pinpoint, I got that right.
Man, if I could say if there's anything that I got wrong, it was not trusting my own voice or not trusting my own intuition. I think an example of that is, and it's so interesting because I love the idea of people getting coaches. I like hiring coaches and understanding that when you hire a coach, your coach is there to guide you with what you want to do. Right? So your coach is not there to necessarily tell you what you should be doing based on what their desires are, but telling you what you should be doing based on your desires, right? And they'll help to, stretch your mind and stuff like that. But for me, I think there were certain parts or certain times where I scaled faster than I was ready to. And I'm like, no, I don't want to do this offer. But it's like, no, do it. It's fine. Your people trust you. You're going to make a bunch of money. And it's like I scaled too fast, but I didn't have the infrastructure to uphold what I had built.
Yeah.
And so that could be really dangerous because that can affect it affects how you do your business. It affects your reputation. So I would say that's probably one of the things, just not trusting my own intuition of when I wanted to launch, what I wanted to launch, all of those things. And the best thing I've done is, I think, again, listening to my intuition, listening to my body when I needed rest. Last year, by the grace of God, it was another $1 million year, but I feel like I probably worked for 7 or 8 months out of the year because I'm like, you know what? I just don't want to do anything. I don't have the mental capacity. I'm not spiritually there. I need to take a break. I'm not in a place to pour into a bunch of clients. And so taking a break so I could come back and feel 100% for my event and the clients that I'm serving now, it was so worth the break.
Wow. 7 months. What did you do during that time you were off?
Listen, I was having a conversation with Donnie. The episode with us just dropped today, and I was like, I was like, I'm canceling my soft girl era because I was just relaxing too hard, just chilling. Watching TV, laying in my bed, figuring out what I wanted, thinking about when I want to launch again, just doing stuff here and there. But there was honestly not a lot of structure. It was really just like doing therapy, just really a season of healing. Like, let me just figure out what I want because I don't want to go into 2023 with the same baggage, with the same trauma, with the same hurt, any of that. So it was just like, just do what's good for your soul right now.
Wow. So I was checking out your apparel. Tell me the name of it again.
Rebellious.
Rebellious.
Yeah.
Where did the idea come from? And it's fly. It's fly
Thank
gear
you.
for women. So take us into Rebellious, the idea, what made you, you're in the e-learning space, we would say. What made you venture into e-commerce and decide to go that route? We know the margins are different in e-commerce.
Oh,
totally
they're
different.
Very different. It's such a different game. So Rebellious, first I came up with the name because I do feel like I'm rebellious, dropping out of college, really just doing my own thing. That's my personality. I don't like living by the rules. I like just doing, here's what works for me, and that's what I want to do. I don't want to go by your rules. So that describes my personality in a sense, and it rhymes with my last name. So it's Rebellious by Maya Elious. And when
Great messaging, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yep. And when I first came up with it was actually going to be a cosmetics brand. Because in 2019, I was wearing makeup more frequently, and people were always like, oh, where do you get your lipstick? Where do you get your lipstick? And the company that I was wearing the lipstick from, they went out of business. So I couldn't really refer anybody to them. So I reached out to that company. I'm like, hey, can I buy your business since you guys aren't in business anymore? And they never responded to me.
That's another rich girl flex. Yeah. Can I buy your supply you got left in the warehouse? Let me buy your business.
Let me just buy the business.
Carry on.
But obviously nobody was monitoring the email, so I never got a response. So I'm like, okay, let me do my research. Let me just find my own lipsticks. So for a few months, testing out different vendors, colors, all of those things. I'm like, boom, I got it. We're going to do Rebellious, the cosmetic brand. And then so got my samples, all of that, put in the trademark, and then 2020 hits. And the pandemic comes, and it's like, nobody's wearing lipsticks. One, because nobody's going outside, and if you are, you're wearing a mask.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, I got all these lipstick samples, but we're going to have to pivot. So I'm like, okay, let me just table this. We didn't know what was going on, when pandemic first, we're on, lockdown for 2 weeks.
It was not 2 weeks.
It was not anybody's 2 weeks. So then everybody starts gaining weight during the pandemic because we're inside the house not knowing what's going on. Like, it's cool to sit around and not exercise and eat whatever you want for 2 weeks, but when you do that for 6 months, you're like, wait a minute, things are getting a little fluffy around here. So everybody's exercising. I'm at home trying to exercise. I'm like, what's going on? So people are seeing me like exercise on my social, and the sets that I was wearing, people are like, oh, I love your set. Where are you getting it from? So I'm telling people, and I reach out to the company, I'm like, hey, do you guys work with influencers? And they're like, oh, we only work with people who are strictly fitness influencers, which clearly I'm not. I'm a business coach. So I'm like, well, I'm definitely going to get paid off of this. Like, if y'all don't want to work with me and, have me tell my people about you. So I find the vendor that they use, and I order sets, and I put my name on it. And that's how Rebellious Fit got started.
Wow. And you was able to still use your marketing expertise on down the line. I saw the content. I was like, this is fly.
Thank you.
This is fly.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Here's what I would ask before we wrap up. Man, this has been phenomenal. As well as you've got me sitting here reevaluating. I'm not a nap guy. Once I'm up, I'm up. But it's really bad because it's like I go to bed like 2-ish, 3. And between 7 and like 8-ish is my like wake up time. So it's like if I get a good 4 or 5, I'm good.
That's terrible.
Yeah.
No, you think you're good, but you're not good.
I'm not functioning at my highest. I could do a little better.
Yeah.
So I'm going to work on that.
Okay, cool. Let's get you at least 6 hours.
Sheesh.
I know.
That's comatose. That
Oh
6
my
hours
gosh.
is like wake up with drool.
Oh, yeah, I love waking up with drool. My sleep be good.
Oh, Lord. Here's what I love. So I would ask, what's next? Some would say you've accomplished it all. How do you keep yourself motivated? What's next?
Hanging around like people like you, just being in the right circle so you never get complacent. And it's interesting, I want that balance of like, I'm content with what I've done, but I know that I'm still called to do more. That's what really keeps me going. Because I would settle. I would be like, you know what, I'm done. I'm cool. I make enough money for me. But it's like, it's not just about you. It's like, how can you, do things for your family? How can you do things for the community? How can you inspire your own clients? So hanging around the right people, scaling, would love to do a $10 million a year, would love to grow Rebellious, would love to start a nonprofit. I think next I probably need to write a book or start a podcast.
I think all of the above.
Yeah.
You definitely be excellent. You'll definitely be excellent at it.
Thank you.
Anyone who wants to know how they can be a part of the next Impact Weekend, how they can work with you, tell them how to get in contact with you, how to get in the room for the next Impact Weekend.
Yes. So if you want to come to the next Impact Weekend, you can sign up for the wait list now at impactweekendlive.com. If you want to connect with me, I'm Maya Elious on Instagram, MayaElious. That's Maya Elious, not Maya Elious. And I do respond to DM, so let's connect on there.
I love it. I already know that this year's going to be really big for you.
Thank you.
I could see you back in work mode.
I'm back in it. Yeah. Soft girl life is canceled, and I'm back to the grind.
How can I support you with what you have going on? Because I love what you stand for. I love what you're doing. And we don't always tell people how to support us. How can I support you?
That's a good question. I think I might have to think on that. Maybe something with a book, because your early days, publishing with Marcus. They was writing books for $250.
Literally. Hey, listen, $97 out here just struggle bus.
I love finding service providers before they know their worth.
Listen, $97 to publish a whole book. Like, what was I thinking?
That's crazy. Definitely in the red. But I think just staying connected, encouraging me, let me know what big ideas you have, because that helps me to, just stretch my mind and think bigger.
I love it. Well, let's continue to encourage each other. This has been another phenomenal episode of Monetize with Marcus. Man, I told y'all was in for a treat with Maya Elious, not Mayalicious. Phenomenal in every sense of the word. I hope you got value. Make sure you do one favor. You share this with someone. If you went to Paris and had a great meal, you pull out your phone and you share it. So why wouldn't you share valuable content with someone that could help them too? If you need me, you know where to find me. I'll be over here minding my online business. I'll see you in the next episode.